Turning to big news out of Boston this afternoon, a jury has convicted Dzhokhar Tsarnaev on all charges he faced stemming from the Boston Marathon bombing. Charges included everything from conspiracy to using a weapon of mass destruction. Fox 5's Sarah Simmons is following this developing story from the newsroom for us. Sarah.
Tony, Tsarnaev faced 30 charges in this case. 17 of them are punishable by death. All those decisions, though, will be made by the federal jury during the sentencing phase. Witnesses in the courtroom say there was no reaction from Tsarnaev as he listened to the verdict, his hands folded in front of him the entire time as he looked down at the defense table. It took jurors a day and a half of deliberations to come to the verdict. They listened to a lot of testimony. 92 witnesses were called to the stand over 15 days. During the trial, Tsarnaev's lawyers admitted he took part in the bombings, but said his now dead older brother, Tamerlan, was the mastermind behind the deadly attack. Prosecutors, they portray the two brothers as full-on partners in a plan to punish the U.S. for its wars in Muslim countries. Jihadist writings, lectures, and videos were found on both of their computers, but the defense argued Tamerlan is the one who found the material and sent it to his brother. One woman who was severely injured in the bombing, along with her husband and her daughter, spoke after the verdict about Tsarnaev's lack of remorse today.
No, I didn't expect anything at all. We were just talking about it inside and whether or not he showed any remorse, how we would feel about it. And personally, I wouldn't have bought it. I would have been more frustrated if he had shown it, because throughout this whole thing, he's been to use my word, arrogant, walking in and out of the courtroom, and completely disinterested. So if I saw anything from him today, I would have been a little more frustrated.
That being one of the survivors there of the bombing, Karen Brassard. Now, she wouldn't say if she favored the death penalty for Tsarnaev. She spoke for a group of survivors and relatives of victims who offered no comment at all, Tony, on the death penalty.
All right, Sarah, thank you very much. Now that we have a verdict, question is what happens next? Let's go live to Boston, where Fox's Joel Waldman is standing by outside the courthouse with that part of the story. Joel, let me start with this question. We do want to know what happens next. We know they go to the sentencing phase, and that is going to be handled differently by the defense than the trial was, correct?
Correct. This is really sort of two trials in one, although in reality it is really just one trial. And now, as you mentioned, they do switch over to the sentencing phase of the trial. Initially, Judge O'Toole said that would begin on Monday, but today in the afternoon, after the verdict was read, he sort of backtracked on that a little bit and said he would let the media and the public obviously know when that would begin. But right now, it does not appear it will start next week. But to your other question, the defense here, really, their whole point in all this, Judy Clark, the lead defense attorney who represented infamous people like the Unabomber and Jared Lee Loughner, who shot Gabrielle Giffords, the whole reason she was brought in here is to prevent Dzhokhar Tsarnaev from getting the death penalty. So they are going to say that he was under the spell of Tamerlan, his older brother, who was 26 years old at the time, and really are going to try to paint Dzhokhar Tsarnaev as just a teenager. That's what how they alluded to him earlier. They say that he was on things like Facebook and the Russian equivalent of Facebook, and really it was Tamerlan that was involved in this radical jihad movement, not so much Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. On the flip side, obviously, the government is going to come out and say that he was an accomplice to all this. Two very interesting points. Today, before the verdict was read, first thing in the morning, the jury asked about the conspiracy count as well as aiding and abetting, and both of those really play into the sentencing phase. The jurors found him guilty on all the counts, but on those two counts as well. And some legal experts say that could lend itself into the sentencing phase and could possibly mean that the jury is leaning towards death. Although obviously one should never really speculate on what a jury is thinking, because only the jury obviously knows. But today, a unanimous decision, guilty on all 30 counts. They checked every box on that 32-page verdict form, Tony.
All right, we'll have to wait and see what happens during that sentencing phase. Thank you very much, Joel.